Let's just say I do decide to join. What would I have to do?
Will I be accepted in a Kappa Psi Kappa tomorrow night?
Oh, spirits are feeling generous tonight.
I didn't know you were in a sorority.
No offense, but if you girls paid attention for just 1 minute, you might have found out sooner.
I've always been kind of intimidated by you. It's just that you're so cool and you're always so well dressed.
I think I'm a lesbian. I, started to like you, and I didn't know how you would react.
Oh, great Kappa spirits. Should Julia kiss me? You don't want to upset the spirit.
Do you think?
Offering an emotionally grounded portrayal of young women learning to recognize both themselves and each other. The scene begins by presenting college life as a period of transition, expectation, and uncertainty, immediately establishing a contrast between the idealized image of university experiences and the private struggles many students carry beneath the surface. The opening narration describes the routines that supposedly define this stage of life: friendships forming, romances changing, athletic commitments, academic pressure, and the constant movement that characterizes campus culture. Yet the narration also acknowledges that not everyone finds their place easily, creating space for a more intimate exploration of what happens when someone feels disconnected from the identity they hope to create. Cynthia's experience represents a deeply recognizable form of isolation, not simply because she is struggling academically or socially, but because she feels separated from the version of herself she imagined she would become. Her difficulty getting out of bed is presented not as laziness or failure, but as a visible sign of emotional exhaustion and disappointment. The scene understands that personal reinvention is one of the promises often associated with leaving home and entering college, especially for young women who have spent years feeling misunderstood, overlooked, or constrained by expectations. Cynthia entered this new environment believing she could reshape herself, but instead she discovers that external changes do not automatically erase internal insecurities. This realization becomes the emotional foundation of the scene, allowing the story to move beyond a simple coming-of-age narrative and into a more complex examination of identity, vulnerability, and the longing to be genuinely seen. Sara's role is crucial because she does not approach Cynthia's struggles with judgment or impatience. Instead, she notices the difference between who Cynthia was and who she has become, recognizing that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Her concern reflects an important aspect of relationships between women: the ability to observe emotional changes that others may overlook. Women are often expected to manage their feelings quietly, maintain appearances, and continue fulfilling responsibilities even when they are overwhelmed. Sara challenges that expectation by refusing to accept Cynthia's silence as normal. She creates an environment where Cynthia can acknowledge her pain without having to immediately solve it or apologize for experiencing it. Their conversation reflects the importance of emotional care within female friendships and especially within queer communities, where chosen relationships frequently become places of safety and recognition. Cynthia's confession that she expected college to become a chance to redo herself reveals how deeply social pressures shape women's understanding of worth. She believed that popularity, confidence, and belonging could be achieved through careful performance. Joining a sorority represented more than simply finding friends. It represented the possibility of becoming someone who was accepted and valued. The disappointment she feels comes from realizing that acceptance cannot be manufactured through social structures alone. She can participate in the rituals of belonging while still feeling like an outsider internally. This experience resonates with many queer women who have attempted to navigate environments where they feel they must carefully construct a version of themselves that will be accepted. Before openly understanding or expressing their sexuality, many LGBTQ+ people become skilled at observation, adaptation, and self-monitoring. They learn how to appear comfortable while privately questioning whether their authentic selves will be welcomed. Cynthia's statement that she feels like she is being fake captures this emotional conflict. It is not simply about pretending to others. It is about the exhaustion of constantly negotiating between the person she feels she is and the person she believes she must become. The scene's emotional power comes from recognizing that this struggle is not unique to queer identity, but queer experiences often intensify these feelings because self-discovery can involve fear of rejection, misunderstanding, or social consequences. Sara's response provides a compassionate counterpoint to Cynthia's self-doubt. Rather than dismissing her feelings or offering simplistic reassurance, Sara acknowledges that uncertainty is part of major life changes. Her observation that everyone is running from something introduces a broader reflection on human vulnerability. People often attempt to escape parts of themselves they consider inconvenient, unacceptable, or difficult to explain. For queer women, this can include hiding or minimizing aspects of identity that society has historically treated as controversial or invisible. The scene does not frame Cynthia's realization as a dramatic revelation meant to shock others. Instead, it presents it as one piece of a larger emotional journey toward honesty. This approach is significant because lesbian and queer stories have often been portrayed through extremes, either as tragic conflicts defined by suffering or as sensationalized narratives focused on difference. This scene chooses another path. It portrays coming to understand one's sexuality as deeply personal, connected to self-acceptance, trust, and the courage required to share something vulnerable with another person. The emotional center of the scene is not the label itself, but the relief of no longer carrying uncertainty alone. Cynthia's hesitation before revealing that she believes she is a lesbian reflects the complicated process many queer women experience when naming their feelings. Identity is rarely discovered in a single moment of certainty. For many people, it develops through years of questioning, comparison, fear, curiosity, and attempts to understand emotions that may not fit the expectations they were given. Cynthia's belief that she might simply grow out of it reflects a common social message that queer feelings are temporary, experimental, or something that will disappear if ignored. The scene gently challenges that assumption by treating her feelings as meaningful and worthy of respect. Her confession is not presented as a problem to be fixed, but as an important truth about herself that deserves acknowledgement. Sara's reaction further reinforces this perspective. Her laughter is not directed at Cynthia's identity, but at the emotional weight of the situation and perhaps the realization that both women have been silently carrying similar fears. This moment illustrates the complicated ways people sometimes respond when long-hidden truths are finally spoken. Relief, surprise, affection, and nervousness can exist together. The scene avoids making the exchange overly dramatic because its strength lies in emotional recognition rather than spectacle. Sara's reassurance that Cynthia does not need to fear rejection from the sorority also addresses a broader cultural issue, the assumption that queer identity automatically threatens belonging. Historically, many LGBTQ+ individuals have had to wonder whether communities they value would accept them if they revealed who they truly are. The fear of losing friendships, social standing, or support has influenced generations of queer people to remain cautious about disclosure. By showing Sara responding with warmth rather than rejection, the scene imagines a form of community where identity is not treated as a barrier to connection. This does not erase the reality of discrimination, but it highlights the importance of allies and queer communities that create spaces where people can exist without constant defense. Sara's own confession changes the emotional meaning of the scene, because it reveals that Cynthia's feelings were not occurring in isolation. Sara admits that she also experienced uncertainty, and that her own understanding of herself developed through similar struggles. This creates a bond based not only on attraction or affection, but on shared vulnerability. Their connection becomes an example of how queer relationships can emerge from recognition, the feeling of encountering another person who understands the parts of oneself that have been difficult to express. For many queer women, this type of recognition is deeply significant because it challenges the loneliness created by environments where lesbian identities are ignored or misunderstood. The scene suggests that intimacy begins with being seen clearly, not with fulfilling an external expectation of romance. The relationship between Cynthia and Sara also reflects the importance of emotional safety and mutual consent. Sara does not assume she knows what Cynthia feels or pressure her to respond in a particular way. Instead, she listens, shares her own experience, and allows Cynthia space to process. This emphasis on communication is especially meaningful because queer relationships are often unfairly portrayed through stereotypes that focus on secrecy or conflict rather than the everyday work of understanding another person. Here, the relationship is built through patience, honesty, and trust. Their connection reflects a broader truth about relationships between women. Emotional closeness often develops through conversations, shared experiences, and moments of vulnerability that allow people to feel accepted without performance. The scene also explores the role of mentorship and emotional support within queer communities. Sara becomes someone who helps Cynthia understand that her feelings do not make her isolated or abnormal. At the same time, Sara is not presented as someone who has all the answers. She has her own history of uncertainty and fear, making the relationship more balanced and authentic. This dynamic reflects real-world experiences among queer women, where people often rely on one another for guidance. Because many traditional institutions have failed to provide accurate, compassionate conversations about identity. Friendships, chosen families, and community networks become essential spaces where people can explore themselves safely. The scene recognizes that support does not require perfection.